Tjena, det är mig podcasterska Katarina på Måsmarkanalen och idag fortsätter vi prata om olika ganska viktiga saker i svenska språket. Och jag vet att sådant ord som att i svenskspråket är ganska konstigt. Och idag ska vi prata om behöver man använda att efter alla ord, alla verb eller det fanns några uttag för användning eller till användning av den här att-ord. Och innan vi börjar, du slår på knappen prenumerera för att vi hörs eller ses i andra avsnitt på den här kanalen. So, first thing first. We need to remind ourselves that in Swedish language, the same like in English, we have cases when we use two verbs in a row, and in between them we will use att. For example, when we are saying that we love to do something, when we hate to do something, when we like to do something, and when we learn to do something. So in Swedish language it will sound as jag älskar att studera, for example. Jag hatar att studera. Jag tycker om att studera och jag gillar att studera, eller jag lär mig att spela gitarr till exempel. But there are cases, and now we will not talk about bisats because it is absolutely another story, and if you have a problem with bisats and different bisats in ledare, so the words that will help us to enter into secondary or additional sentence, which is called bisats in Swedish language, please let me know in the comments below the video. Now, in today's video, I want to devote to the list of the verbs. Some of them are hjälpverb, which you have seen in this video before. So if you are not acquainted with hjälpverb, just go by the link in the corner. And some words or some verbs are just simple verbs which are kind of exceptions, and after them we will use another verb but without att. So let's start from repeating of our hjälpverb. So the first verb is vill, which is translated as want. And yeah, in English language it's the simple word, but in Swedish language it is hjälpverb. And let's look at the example. Jag vill gå. I want to go. The next verb, måste, must. Jag måste äta. The next one, can. Jag kan simma. And please don't misspell the word, because simma is to swim and svimma is to lose your consciousness. So English learners or English speaking people, don't misspell these words. So once again, jag kan simma. The next one, får, which is translated as may or to be allowed to, and the example will be jag får träffa honom. So I am allowed to meet him, or I may meet him. The next one, behöver, which is translated as need, and the example will sound as jag behöver sova. And pay attention, we don't use any att in between behöver and sova or any previous or the following examples in this video. The next one, brukar, which is translated into English as usually, or yeah, there is only one translation in English language, but in Swedish language it is the verb. And let's look at the example. Jag brukar jogga. So I usually jog. Next one, bör, which is maybe. You know more in past preteritum form, and it sounds as borde and translates as should. For example, du bör läsa. So you should read. The next one, ska, which is shall or will. For example, jag ska åka. I will go or I shall go. The next one, tänker, think, plan or intend to do something. And this word is used when we are talking about future tense, and you remember that in Swedish language there are actually 4 ways how you can say about your plans in future. So you can say just presents. For example, jag studerar. You can say jag ska studera. You can say jag kommer att studera. And this word you can also use and say jag tänker studera. So I intend or I plan to study. And we will get the separate video devoted to future tenses, or which ways we use to say something in future tense. So let's move on. Börjar, start. For example, jag börjar arbeta. So I start working. The opposite word, slutar, which is stop. For example, jag slutar prata. I stop talking. But of course I'm not, because I have the list of the verbs that I want you to know by heart. So, the next word, fortsätter, which is continue, to go on doing something. For example, jag fortsätter skriva. So I go on writing. I continue to write. The next verb, prövar, to try. I try to bake. Jag prövar baka. So I try to bake. The next word, försöker, is also going to be translated as attempt or try. And let's look at the example, and I will explain what is the difference between prövar and försöker. So, for example, jag försöker lära mig. So I try to learn. But what is the difference between prövar and försöker? So prövar we use when we are testing something or trying something out, and we mean in more physical way. So we try doing something in physical meaning. And försöker we use when we are attempting doing something, and often we mean it in a broader or more abstract sense. Let's compare. Jag prövar att göra yoga. So I'm trying out yoga. So it is physical thing, and I'm trying whether I can do that or not, whether I like it or not. And de försöker förstå problemet. So they're trying to understand. So it's like abstract sense. So you can't really explain the action. So you say that, okay, you're trying that, but it is abstract trying. So physical, it is when you are doing something, and then you will use prövar. But if it is something that you try to think of something, you will say försöker. The next verb is hinner, which will mean to be on time or to have enough time to do something. For example, jag hinner yoga. So I have time to jog. The next one, orkar, to have energy. For example, jag orkar inte gå. So I don't have energy to go. So if we compare orkar and kan, orkar is about energy and kan is about ability to do something. So for example, I have time, possibility, I don't know, finances and so on, and I will use kan. But if we are talking about orkar, it's about energy that you might have or might not have to do something. The next one, slipper, which will be translated as avoid. For example, jag slipper städa. So I avoid cleaning. So I will skip doing cleaning, if I can say so. The next one, vågar, which is translated as dare. And let's look at the example. Jag vågar fråga. I dare to ask. And I have the best tip for all the learners. And please hear me at this moment. There are no stupid, wrong, or strange questions. If you have a question that is not answered or you can't answer by yourself, go to the teacher or go to the person that knows and dare to ask this person about your question. So remember about this, because the question that is asked on time and the answer that you get directly or with some time can be a very crucial moment for your right knowledge. So once again, there is vågar. For example, jag vågar fråga. I dare to ask. The next one, råkar, which is translated as happen to. For example, jag råkar se. So I happen to see. And very important here to understand that råkar is translated not the same as händer. So it is more when you say that something has happened occasionally or unexpectedly or in some coincidence. So in this case you will say, oh, det råkar hända. So it happens so that it has happened. Just good to understand in which case it is used råkar. So once again, jag råkar se. So it happened so that I have seen it, for example. Lyckas, which is translated as succeed. And in Swedish, there will be the example this way. Jag lyckas förstå. So I succeeded to understand, which I hope you will do after watching this video. The next one, tycks, which is translated as seem, and example will be det tycks regna. So it seems to rain. And pay attention that in Swedish language there are some verbs that has s in the end. For example, hoppas or trivs or means, remember, which is used with s in the end. So tycks is one of them. And the last verb, verkar, which will be translated as appear or seems. For example, han verkar jobba hårt. He seems to work hard. Or hon verkar gilla filmen. He seems to like the movie. Okej, det var den sista verb i listan som inte behövs användning at efter verb, och jag hoppas att du kommer att minnas alla verb och använda dem i ditt vardagsliv. Och den sista sak som jag kommer att säga är att du vet mer än du tror. Det var mig, podcasterska Katarina på Måsmarkanalen, och vi hörs eller ses jättesnart.